Hey, Jenny.
Hey, what's up, Mish? How are you?
Good. Happy Wine Wednesday.
Happy Wine Wednesday. I noticed that you have a different backdrop. Where are you at?
So I am actually in Florida, and so it's a city called Aventura. It's right outside of Miami. So I was actually here for a work conference, which I'll get into later with my Rose and Thorn. But yeah, so this is where I am. So you'll see I'm drinking from my wine from a plastic cup today,
I love it.
courtesy of the pool bar outside, which Jenny just saw. So my boyfriend's here also. So I don't know if anyone knows this, but my boyfriend's also a financial advisor. So we attended the conference together, and he luckily took the afternoon off from work.
And he's had a few, yeah?
He started his Wine Wednesday early, so his is more like a wine afternoon. So he has been like just like sitting in the pool all afternoon drinking.
I mean,
And
work
so
hard, play hard, right?
exactly. So you guys just missed him. He just like ran in here in his bathing suit, and then but he gave me this lovely cup of white wine, which is I guess like hopefully like similar to one that Jenny will tell us about today. But
Actually, it is. It
so yeah,
is.
there.
I'm super
Okay.
jealous of your hotel. Give it a shout out so anybody who's interested in can go. It looks really beautiful.
Yeah, so it's the JW Marriott Turnberry, and it is a resort. So there's actually like a water park and like a lazy river, like in the hotel. So I was like to Chris, my boyfriend, I was like, we have to go. Like later on, like we just have to go like down the water slides. I think it will be like so much fun. But yeah, everything is like spectacular. So we like literally just walk out from our balcony and the pool's right there. And it's a
What?
beautiful resort. Yes. But well, I guess I'll get into later during my rose, but I'll tell you guys more about the conference. It's very
Okay, yeah, definitely gonna check that hotel out. It looks super cute.
yeah, no
And
doubt.
also, I'm super excited for Michelle to share some of her takeaways from the conference. She's been texting me nonstop about all of the amazing content that she's been able to learn from. So I'm
Mhm.
super jealous that I'm not there, but I'm glad she is because we're all going to be able to benefit from it. So
Exactly. Yes.
definitely like going to the point of you should invest in yourself. You need to go get in these rooms. You never know what it's going to unlock for you.
Right.
And it's just super valuable.
No, it is. You're meeting like so many people in the industry, networking, but then also learning like new topics, staying up to date in, what like the new financial planning softwares, what's going on, new like tax laws like they taught us about. So a lot of cool stuff.
Love it. Okay, well, without further ado, we will get
Yeah,
into the wine
exactly. Get
today,
into
which
your
I'm
mind. Let us
very
know.
yeah.
Everything.
I'm very excited about this one, you guys. It's coming from a region and a grape varietal that is really known to us as American consumers, primarily for Cava, which is the champagne alternative that we've talked about on the pod before. But this one is, I mean, honestly, this wine shows to me that that region of Spain can be known for more than bubbles and Tempranillo, which is what it's normally known for. This is 100% Xarello. It's spelled with an X and it's silent, just so you guys would know. The Cava grape is responsible for basically a very acidic, longevity, well-rounded wine. You're going to get a little bit of earth because it's coming from the old world. You're definitely going to get a lot of citrus tones. Anytime I drink a Xarello, I get like a little bit of like a lemon zest, which I prefer to like a grapefruit or a passion fruit. I think that that fruit really blends well and it just creates a really well-structured wine. This one's super, super aromatic though. So as soon as you smell it, it's like, whoa, the bouquet is insane. And it's definitely something that would pair really well with seafood or really any Mediterranean dish. A lot of like lemon, lime blossom, a little bit of ginger. Very long finish, which is rare for a wine that is super acidic, but it's so clean. It's so refreshing. It's $9.99, you guys. And Xarello to me, and this is not backed by science or anything with regard to wine, but Xarello to me always drinks like an elegant Chardonnay and not an oaked California Chardonnay, but more of like a Burgundy old world Chardonnay. And you can get it for like a fraction of the price point, and it's definitely a crowd pleaser. So highly recommend this bottle.
Okay, perfect. Once I get back to New York City, I'm going to try to find it.
Yeah, you should be able to find it. I've been picking ones that are a little bit more readily available. So definitely drinks above its pay grade. It's a great one. But yeah, we already kind of
Okay.
earlier. Why don't you get into your rose?
Yes. Okay. So my rose, like I said, I was at a work conference this week. So the company that sponsored the conference, it's called Riskalyze, and it's one of our financial planning softwares we use for our clients. And it was honestly like the most amazing time. I feel like I haven't been to a conference like at this level, or like if I have, it's been like so long ago. Just like with COVID and everything, I feel like they weren't really like having these in-person events. And like I said, like I learned so much just going through to the different seminars. They had so many great like keynote speakers, and actually like the speakers that I listen to podcasts every day. And so like a few like big names. So like Michael Kitches, I don't know if anybody knows, but he
Yeah.
an amazing like financial planning podcast that he does, and he actually was one of the speakers, and I like geeked out. I was like, oh my gosh, like I like saw him in the hallway and I was like it's so cool, like because he's almost like a celebrity in the financial planning world. I was like, all right, this is cool. My boyfriend was like, all right, calm down. But then also like this morning there was a former like NFL player, Ray Lewis, who spoke, and he was so motivational. He was a really good speaker. So it was nice to see that. And then I feel like also when you're at these conferences, it just gives you a lot of like motivation and energy, especially like speaking to other people, especially females. So that was one thing that I loved. Like they had a whole like, females in finance aspect of the conference, and it was really good to network with other female advisors, kind of seeing what they're doing and then also partnering up. So hopefully we'll be seeing some of them on the podcast in the future.
Yeah,
And
it's so exciting.
yeah, and it's like so nice that it's in Miami as well. So we actually came down a few days early and stayed in South Beach, and we got here on Monday morning. And then like Jenny was saying before, the resort is super nice. So that is my rose win of the week. And then as we'll get into my thorn, but I don't know if any of you are from New York City, but on Thursday night into Friday, it was a mess with the rain. I was showing like Jenny the pictures and just telling her like my story, and it was horrible. So
it looks so crazy.
yeah, no, it was. I would like I had to go out and drive. Definitely shouldn't have been on the road because there was like such major flooding and people were getting stuck. Like it was horrible. And basically like the city of Manhattan was like underwater, and it was just terrible. And I was actually traveling back into the city, and I was waiting for a train and they just kept getting canceled. And I actually like went up to one of the MTA workers. I was like, is there like, are there any trains coming? And he was like he looked at me and he was like, you're not getting into Manhattan. Like he was like, the city's underwater. There's like nothing, nothing happening. So it was bad. And it just like, makes you think. I know like New York, like we're prepared for blizzards and like hot days, but then when it comes like the rainfall that we had, it like they were not prepared for it.
Well, I think I speak for everyone when I say that we're very glad that you're okay.
Thank you.
You insane person.
I know I should have just stayed at home, but I had to like get things ready because we were flying out the next day. But yeah, luckily I don't think there were any reported deaths or anything. It was just there's probably just a lot of damage. Like in the subway systems, there was like water gushing out of the walls, and like a lot of places were flooded. But yeah, so that was not fun, especially like the day before, because like the day before you're going on a trip, it's like you're like rushing everywhere and trying to get everything done.
Yeah.
But thankfully I was okay and I made it back home safe. So yeah. What about you? What are your rose and thorn of the week?
Yeah, so my week has been a lot of work, but I will say I'm a really big proponent of giving thoughtful gifts to your friends.
Okay.
And I don't mean like spending a ton of money on them, but if you see something that makes you think of that person, no matter how small, I just think that it's like such a great way to fill your friends' love tanks.
Yeah.
And even if it's just like an experience or what have you. So you guys all know that I'm like a hardcore Swiftie. And I went to a dinner party on Monday night with a couple of my friends, and one of my girlfriend's cat was like, hey, I got you a present. And I was like, what? It's not even my birthday. What do you mean? And she ended up buying me this hat that I'm wearing.
Was it Taylor's version?
It says Taylor's version on it, and it's like so unique, and it was just so thoughtful. And I'm sporting it today, obviously. But I just love when I try to do that for my friends all the time. Like I quite frankly hate giving like Christmas gifts to people because I'm like, I'd rather just give you gifts that make me think of you throughout the year as opposed to like forcing myself into like finding something that you're gonna like.
Yeah.
So it just like really filled my love tank and made me super happy. And gifts is not even my love language. I just thought it was really thoughtful. And then my thorn is, gosh dang, I'm going to tread lightly here, but I've had like some really sketchy encounters with insurance companies recently. And I feel like a lot of them are pretty crooked. And I found out I was going through, I try to do this regularly, like an audit of my financials. And I found out that we were being charged for like a renter's insurance policy for like a long time ago, you guys. So we called them and we were like, hey, we've owned our home for over 3 years now. So I'm not sure what this policy is. And they were like, oh yeah, well, we'll go ahead and cancel it for you. You just need to get like your lease termination agreement from your old place that you lived at. And so then I reached out and like they've got new management, so they don't have it. And then my husband actually used to work at a leasing agency before he got started in real estate. And he was like, Jenny, lease terminations don't exist unless you terminate your lease early. So I gave them my like move out statement, and they're like, we can't move forward with your refund. So it's just like super sketchy. And I'm like, really bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I bet. Oh no, that sucks. I'm sorry that happened.
But you know, this is why you should stay on top of what your budget and what's going in and out every month.
We check it every month. Oh no. Well, I'm hoping you get that refund.
Yeah, I think I will. I'm gonna fight it tooth and nail because every dollar, you guys, every dollar counts.
Exactly, it does. Actually, when I ask you a question, being that you have your Taylor hat on, and we didn't talk about this last week, but what do you think about the whole Taylor and Travis?
Okay, you guys, I am so here for this like crossover episode. Like my husband's obsessed with football and I'm obsessed with Taylor. So it's been like all the memes that you guys have been seeing circulating. But I will say one thing that I'm really excited about is I feel like Travis Kelce is like the first person who's dated Taylor Swift who's like actually realized that he's dating Taylor Swift.
Right.
And he like pursues her and puts her on the pedestal that she deserves to be put on. It seems like he really respects her. He understands the demands of her career because he also has them. He's basically created an environment where she can, you know, cultivate the things that are important to her, like having her friends. Like he ran out a whole restaurant for her. I don't know much about him, but what I've seen so far, I really like. And I think that our girl deserves happiness.
No, she does. Yeah. And so I learned about like the Kelce brothers because there's brothers. So one plays for the Eagles and then he plays for Kansas City, and they were actually both in the Super Bowl. So that's when like I first heard about them and I started watching them, and then like hearing about their story, and then like their mom was like a big like celebrity at the Super Bowl. So like both of her sons were in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know. I'm just so excited. I love it. So if we were home this past weekend, I was going to beg my boyfriend to go to the Jets game, even though I'm not a Jets fan. I'm a Giants fan. It's like in New York, you're either, I feel like, Jets or Giants, but I was going to go just to see.
I mean, you could have met our girl for a second.
I could have. But maybe next time that Kansas City plays New York.
I'm definitely on the edge of my seat about it, and I'm here for it. I love, I mean, anything that is going to raise awareness about, you know, and like about the NFL or about Taylor, like it's great. All press is good press in that realm. And I think that it's hilarious. Like, I think it's so funny. I've been loving it.
It's so funny. And especially like, I feel like all the like articles coming out are like every like female is watching like a football game now just because of like a Taylor Swift, and it's so funny, but I love it.
It's great for the NFL's ratings. I'm here for it.
It is. Yeah, exactly. It is. I bet you like the past like 2 games were like probably like, I don't know. I don't know that much about football, so don't hate me for the statement, but like probably like one of their most like highest watched games.
No, it's true. They're definitely, and they're aware of it. That's why they're playing along.
Yeah. It's very
My
good.
personal favorite was when Mark Cuban was like, Taylor, I've got plenty of good looking men on the Mavericks. And then Travis Kelce clapped back and claimed his woman.
I love it.
It was great.
We love that. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, without
I just
further
had to ask
ado,
you.
we're going to get into our topic today, which is self-empowerment as a form of self-care. For those of you who know me, maybe you do or you don't know, I really hate the term self-care. I think that people use it as like a cop-out mechanism and it's all encompassing and people think it's one size fits all. And I really don't think that it is, for one. I do think that it's important, but I just think that we don't use the proper vernacular to talk about it. And I don't think we approach it from the appropriate way that's going to be sustainable and not kitschy, if you will. So Michelle and I were talking and we were like, all right, well, how can we reframe this? Because we do this in our own lives. And how can we, for you guys, like put it in a tactical format so that you can leverage it in your own lives and have a better vernacular when talking about it. And we came up with self-empowerment, right? Because that's what this channel is about. We're here to empower one another and ourselves to live our best lives. And I think that it's important to develop a habit and to develop a structure that's going to be successful for you. And self-empowerment in and of itself is the process of taking control of your life, right? And you have to work within that framework to create a better future for yourselves. So for me, the biggest thing, and I think Michelle agrees with this, the biggest thing when it comes to like self-care is not waiting until you need it to have it built into your life. Right. So for me, I'm a huge believer, and I don't always abide by this, that you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help anyone else. And you have to recharge your batteries because we're not the Energizer Bunny. So I create habits that I do regularly so that I try not to get to a point where I'm like, oh my God, I just need an evening for self-care. Although that does happen. And we are going to be talking about burnout a lot here. That's a campaign that we have been hitting heavily because it affects women a lot more than it affects our male counterparts. And I think that creating a self-empowerment routine for yourself and something that you can stick to is something that is paramount in order to combat that.
No, it really is. I love like doing my self-care routine like every Sunday afternoon. So it's like no matter what, like, so I mean, I guess if I have like an event or something I am doing that, I'll like pass for it, but I just make sure that I'm scheduling it every week. And I know like Sunday afternoon, that's my day to like just take care of myself. And it helps so much going into a week, like filled with client meetings and networking, prospecting, all the things that we have to do. And I found that, like Jenny said, I just make sure that it's in my calendar. And actually, one of the things that was said at this conference was it was kind of like an annual calendar. So the female that was speaking about it said, make sure every January you're sitting down and you're planning out your whole year. So I know we've spoke about this before, but it's very important to like plan trips. I think like we will try to take one once a quarter, and I feel that it makes you work harder and it helps you a lot like with the burnout, even though, sometimes like working hard in itself will lead to burnout. But if you have these regular things scheduled, it gives you something to look forward to. And like, you could see the light at the end of the tunnel instead. Because I know like in the past, when I first started into my career, it was just like work. So I would be working 7 days a week and not have any downtime. And I didn't really see the light at the end of the tunnel at that point. I'm just like, just working, like grinding my gears. And then kind of like woke up one day and I was like, what am I doing all this for if I can't, rest, relax, recharge, and enjoy myself? So yeah, it's just super important.
Yeah. And I think like to that end, what Michelle is talking about, one of the tools that I try to, whenever I plan out my year, I plan out my week, I try to plan out my day. And I'm not perfect at it, but I have a note in my phone that I put, where are the destinations that I want to go to next year? Because I had a really bad habit before I started doing this of being like, oh, somebody invited me passively on a trip. That looks cool. Or, oh, I'm gonna hop onto this bandwagon because I saw something about it that looked cool. And you've got to be more strategic, because then what if something, whatever it is that's going to feed your soul and something that's been on your bucket list for a long time is always going to get pushed to the back burner. And I've started to say no to trips or experiences that are just spur of the moment, because I might have FOMO if I don't go. So what I did, and we're really prioritizing, my husband and I are calling next year the year of travel, but I'm not going to sacrifice my goals for that travel, but I'm going to prioritize it. So what we did was we put together in our notes app, these are the destinations that we want to get to next year. And then we looked in the framework of the calendar and how we could fit that in. And we do this like similar to what we've talked about before, where it's like yearly, quarterly, etc. We do like two big vacations a year, and then once a quarter we'll go away for a long weekend. And then I also used to do the thing where I would be like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to a conference, that counts. And let me tell you, it doesn't. Like you can extend and add a few days and do whatever, but that is not you checking out, because most of the time, and Michelle can attest to this, most of the time after you get out of a conference, you're like, oh, I'm just thinking about all the things that I learned, and I'm really energized and rejuvenated, and I just want to get back and do all the things.
Right.
That happens to me
this afternoon, where, well, at least someone is able to recharge and is sitting by the pool right now. But but I was like telling Jenny, it was like I couldn't wait to get back into work, because I feel like I was just like learning so much. It's like, all right, I want to be like on there. But it was like a huge topic, and it came up in every conversation that I was having, especially to advisors that have been in the industry for say like 20, 25 plus years, about, when you are taking a break and are on vacation, it's super important not to work at all. Like even like don't even check your emails. That was another point that came up, like about only like checking your emails twice a day. And I think that this should be another topic that we do one day, but there's kind of the form of like, you feel like you're being productive, but is that really being productive?
Yeah.
Like, what I mean? Like it like increases your dopamine because you're thinking that you're getting something done.
Checking the box.
Exactly. You're checking the box. Oh, I just deleted all my emails. I, responded to people, and unless like something's very urgent, it's very important to kind of like create a schedule for yourself and just don't like constantly just keep doing that. But back to the point of like when you're taking vacations, it's very important to just like discharge from work and not think about it and not be on your phone. Just kind of like take a break.
Yeah.
Things like that.
It's so important. And like, it's to that end, to what Mitch was talking about, one of the things that I do in terms of like self-empowerment so that I don't need self-care is when I'm putting my oxygen max on first and I'm planning out my week. This is what I personally do. It may not work for you, but it works really well for me. I do not plan any client-facing meetings on Mondays or Fridays. Unless I'm in tax season or a very busy season of work, I shut things down at noon on Fridays. And that doesn't mean that I'm done with work, but maybe I spend that time doing something creative because that stimulates me and feeds my soul. I've realized later in life that I have to be creative. I've spent my whole life telling myself that I'm not. And I like to use Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings to make sure that I'm feeling that. And then the other thing that I do is on Monday, nothing internal either until at least noon. Right. I'm not chatting with people on my team. I'm not talking about objectives for the week. I am taking that morning to get myself organized and to make sure that my goals are front of mind and that my to-do list is executed, that I've got my mind right. So I always read first thing Monday morning because I've had so many manic Mondays. And I know how that's the energy that you take into the rest of your week.
I love that you started to do that. I'm just like, that's awesome that you're doing that.
Huge game changer. For me. Huge game changer. I'm not quite at the level of only checking my email twice a day, although that is on my agenda. Right. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I try to attend multiple networking events. And that's how I structure my schedule right now. And then on Wednesdays, and then the time on Tuesday, Thursdays when I'm not at networking events, I'm client facing. And that's really how I structure things. It works really well for me in terms of doing things that feed my soul. I try to do Friday afternoons. Those are really, like, most of my friends know, like, that's my time. So I'm not going to do anything social during that time. I'm going to do whatever it is that is going to make me happy in the moment to kind of take me into the weekend. because I don't want to live a life that is bifurcated by the weekend. Like I want to structure my life to where it's just another day. And I don't want to have the Sunday scaries. I don't want to like elongate the weekend. I want every day to be something that is worth, living to its fullest. So that's really the way. And you know what that took? And one of the tips that I want you guys to leave with, that took a lot of self-awareness that I did not have from jump. You've got to know like yourself. You've got to know what makes, like, so many people are like, oh, self-care routine. I jade rolled my face. I put my little eye patches on. I took a bath with a bubble balm. Like none of that stuff appeals to me personally.
Yeah.
But it might to other people. So you have to know, but I can tell you what works for me is grounding exercises, going outside, being in nature, getting a full 8 hours of sleep. Another thing that I like, it's so funny, Mish, I'm excited. One of the books that Mish and I are reading for our book study later at the end of the month is called Unreasonable Hospitality. And I was reading it this morning. Yeah. I was reading it this morning and it was kind of like an aha moment for me. Will, the author, was talking a little bit about how from a very young age, him and his dad would go to fine dining establishments and restaurants, and that was kind of their thing. And it's not a spoiler, but his mother passed away when he was graduating from college, and him and his dad were grieving, and he had to go to an internship like the next week. And he had a relationship that he had fostered with an executive chef in New York City, and asked like, hey, I know it's last minute, but could you get us in? And he was able to squeeze them in. And for the entirety of the dinner, because everything was so pristine, it was so regimented, everything had been thought of, for the entire dinner, like they didn't think about his mom. Like they were able to escape and fully immerse themselves into it. And for me, that is self-empowerment and self-care. I regularly have to do that because we live in a world where we're constantly freaking stimulated by everything. And it's so hard for us to just put our phones down and be. And when I'm doing that with my husband or my friends, that's like really the only time that I totally immerse. And that's self-care to me.
Yeah. No, and what Jenny said is, self-awareness is really, I think it's like one of like the highest forms of self-care, because if you're not self-aware, you're really not seeing, I'm gonna say, like your weaknesses or things you need to work on. And I know I struggled with that. So I would say like, actually before like my switching of careers, I don't think I was like in a good place. I think I was like in the wrong relationships and just like treating myself like not that great, like going out on the weekends, things like that, because I think I really didn't want to like come like on like head on into what I was really experiencing deep down. And once I actually like worked on myself, I remember I was almost to the point of like rock bottom where I was getting anxiety. I was probably I had the Sunday scaries every weekend. And it was just like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. And it took a lot to really work on myself and come to what my weaknesses were and actually like work on them and looking up how to. So the different books I had to read, what podcast, that I had to listen to, actually like meditating, actually, just hearing myself be silent and being alone. And it helped so much once I realized what my weaknesses are. Like I feel like I had a very like victim mentality. And it was always like, why is this happening to me? And, oh, I didn't get this job, or why isn't like a prospect moving forward? My mom's like, why, like, is this all falling on me? And to really like dig down deep and like realize that, you're not a victim, and to change the way that you're actually thinking. And so I really like promote being self-aware and being able to fix those things. So I think once you do, it like takes you to like a whole other level where, I started seeing success, and just, my anxiety went away, not depressed, like I look forward to my week. Like Monday's my favorite day. And just like, it's like just a different side of me where I'm so glad that I worked on that. And it was hard. Let me tell you, like, it was very hard you're like basically like in the trenches with just your thoughts, and it's like scary almost.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not talked about a lot, like for that. And that's why so many people hold that in. And when you're holding it in, it just, I said, it comes to the point where it's not good. And then you start taking it out on others, like your family, your friends. And Jenny was saying, it's just so important to be self-aware. And I think once you are, it will help in all the other aspects of your life.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, Michelle, you hit the nail on the head. Like, you guys, this is like a sustained journey. This is not something that happens quickly. It took me years to get where I am now in terms of how to manage that over surmounting pressure that comes along with being a successful entrepreneur or a woman in this modern day. Right. And I'm not perfect at it. Like, I still have slip ups. One of my litmus tests, and it's funny because Michelle and I talk about this sometimes, and my litmus test is like, I want to be able to look at the Sunday Scaries account on Instagram purely ironically for the rest of my life, right? Because the reason that account is so successful is because there are so many people who feel that way. And if you do the work, I'm not saying you won't feel that way, but I'm saying that there are tools that can help you feel that way less often. And I think one of the things that I respect the most about Michelle is like, she understands like the mind-body connection that goes with this. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about like the physical aspect of how to empower yourself to, provide good self-care with regard to like the diet, exercise, and kind of how that's helped you.
Right. Yeah. So I also feel like at that point in my life, when I was at my lowest, like my diet wasn't good and wasn't going to the gym. It was just like a lot of basically just like working myself into the ground. I didn't have time for anything else. And it was actually funny. So I took a spin class on Monday with a new instructor and I actually really enjoy him. And in his class, it's like not really all about, the physical aspect. He's also like talking about your mental aspects of working out and the effect that has on you. And he actually said, it was actually funny that he said this leading into this podcast, but he said the greatest form of self-care you could have is self-love. And once you do experience that self-love and know yourself, then every other aspect of your life is going to fall into place. And so basically he was saying, I feel my best, I know like not everybody loves to get up early and go to the gym, but that's what I enjoy to do. And when I don't do that, I just feel guilty and I'm not myself. So my best self, I know, is that if I go to the gym early, get there and eat, I'm not going to say clean. I'm not a clean eater by any means. I do try to eat healthy though. And I think that does like pour into the other areas of my life. And yeah. I feel like I'm more productive at work too. Actually, I told Eric this, I think a few weeks ago. I was like, I just feel like more productive when I go to the gym in the morning because then I'm not having that like afternoon slump.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a domino effect into other areas of your life. And it's, as women, as millennial women, we have to be careful with regard to what our standards are in terms of like eating clean and eating healthy. But like end of day, that journey looks different for everyone. And internally when you're not doing right by your body. So for me, moderation is something that has taken, and I'm still not perfect at it, you guys, but it has taken me years. Like I was like well into my early 30s before I was like, oh, I don't have to go from 0 to 100 in every aspect of my life. Cool. I can actually like do things that are on a concerted level and not go all in balls to the wall every single time. Right. Because all that does is create more problems for yourself. And you have to like really look, and you know what? Maybe that's not your personality. Maybe you can go balls to the wall all the time in every single category. Maybe you can eat whatever you want and still feel the same. Maybe you can drink as much as you want and still feel the same. I personally cannot. So I had to do a lot of trial and error to figure out like what that balance looked like for me. And I hate when people get judgy about it. They're like, oh yeah, like that person like goes out all the time. They're drinking all the time. Like, how do they look like that? Or like, what's going on? The fact of the matter is like, you're not that person. Like your standards and the way that your body feels is completely different than that person. So you just have to accept like what your journey is and like how you feel the best.
Right. Exactly. Like I said, like I don't like eat clean 100% of the time. Like I like love like pizza and like chicken fingers, like, not like, and I feel like that, I feel like it's a different, like, seeing people that do that or like harp on like, oh, this is the only way to be healthy. This is the only way like to live your life is go to the gym every day, like eat like very, very clean, don't drink alcohol. But like Jenny was saying, it's all about you and your like what works for you. And
Yeah.
I feel like also like that is like self-care also, like knowing what you love, your strengths, what's going to make you succeed. And because I know like I would be very depressed if I had to eat like vegetables and salad all day, even though I love salad. But if that's all like I could eat and like not like, hey, like we're on a podcast like talking about wine Wednesdays, like obviously like, you know, like to drink. It's just like finding out like your balance and what's right for you. I think that's
Yeah.
also like a form of self-care.
Michelle and I have very similar mindsets about this. And it's like, I used to spend my 20s like scrolling through Instagram and seeing all these like really beautiful women who are influencers or what have you, being like, well, the secret is you can't drink alcohol.
Right.
And I would be like, I'm in my 20s and I love wine. What do you mean I can't drink alcohol? So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. Like you have
It
to
is.
figure out like what works for you and your body and how you feel. And that goes on the other end too. Like if you don't want to drink, like that's great. You don't have to.
Right. Exactly.
But at the end of the day, like I said, one of my favorite things to do for self-care is to try a new restaurant. I don't want to be on a diet when I go into a restaurant that I'm trying and I want to know what their delicacies are. So I have to like build habits around moving my body and making sure I'm getting the nutrients that I need outside of that, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Yeah.
So,
And sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say massive interconnectedness between physical health and self-empowerment
Right.
and self-care.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And then, you know, some of the other like areas I think in your life where you do have self-care and a little bit about, you know, how to have self-care. So like definitely for your mentality and your mindset. And really, I think like I was saying, one of the things that helped me a lot was meditation. And I think I downloaded like the Calm app. I think it got to a point where, and I wasn't like talking to a therapist. I wasn't on any medication, but it got to a point where like my anxiety was just like so bad that it kind of like just took over me and I just wasn't feeling my best self. So I was like, all right, like I need to do something. So I downloaded the Calm app and I would just say like 10 minutes out of my day just to listen to it and just like help me reflect and just cleared my head. And that really helped me. And then another way I think is like to set boundaries. I know Jenny is like really all about the setting boundaries.
Yeah.
And is really good at it. Yeah.
Work in progress over here. I mean, as Taylor said, like I've been a pathological people pleaser for my entire life. So at some point that had to change.
Yeah. But then also, you know, on an emotional standpoint, like it's okay to go and talk to somebody if you have to go find a therapist or even like a support group. I know support groups are super big now. And you could also like find them virtually and just talking to people that are going through similar things or are also, you know, bettering themselves. It's really like refreshing to talk to people that are doing kind of the same thing to help you.
I think everyone should go to therapy. And I think that like it should be a tool that you can use too. So if you're uncomfortable sitting with your own thoughts and delving through a lot of this, you can leverage someone else to help you tap into that, to have a little bit more self-awareness and supercharge that for you. Mm-hmm. And I just think that that's so valuable, but I know not everyone has the means to take advantage of that. So there's other things that you can do internally if you're not quite there yet. Because unfortunately it's not a possibility for everyone, and that's totally understandable. But it's very valuable if you do have the means to provide that for yourself.
Definitely. I agree. I know like growing up, I don't know if you had like the same experience, but I feel like, I don't know if it was my heritage of being like from an Italian household, but like we wouldn't talk about like our problems or like even like, I feel like the notion of therapy was very like nobody brought it up.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, like nobody's bringing it up. Like you automatically think, okay, it's bad or like what's wrong with it? And I had to like get over that. And once I did, it kind of like changed. It was just like, all right, like, you know, you don't have to go upon like what you learned over the years and just kind of like form your own knowing of what's going to work for you. Back to that.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's second generation Armenian, so we were not talking about feelings in my house either. It's so funny. I did an exercise with my family. My dad, y'all, my dad's an angel. I love him. But we did an exercise where we talked. It was basically we forced our family to talk about our feelings and memories and all this stuff, and he was so uncomfortable. It was so cute to watch because it's just not something that's in his vernacular. It's not something he's ever had to deal with.
Yeah.
But times are changing, and we can change that. You know, we really can. I think that we should be a part of the solution because it's a lot, like, to exist right now. Yes. And you've got to take care of what's between your ears, guys. You spend the most time with yourself versus anybody else. And so you've got to be at peace with that most of the time. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself insane.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. You have to be, become comfortable with being alone. I know it's very hard. Like I have like a lot of friends or family, like they can't be alone. It's like the minute they are alone, like I think you're forced to like think about those thoughts and what you're really like hiding deep down inside.
Yeah.
But once you do come to that, I think you really like see that transformation.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys. Wow. We've been like talking our ears off about this. I could talk to you about it all day, but it's like amazing. But just to round it out, I think that like, it's really, hitting back on the self-awareness, you need to understand that in life challenges are inevitable. And you shouldn't always be looking for solutions to those challenges, but you should definitely be looking for a framework of your process and how you handle them. Because that's something that's repeatable. And no matter what the challenge is, you can still have the process that you go through that's going to be helpful to you. And that's been a huge game changer for me.
Mm-hmm. Me too, definitely. Everything you just said, I second.
Awesome. Well, we are so excited that you guys joined us tonight. Thank you so much. We love chatting with you guys. We will be back next week to chat with you guys, and we are going to do a book review over Unreasonable Hospitality. If you guys want to join us in reading it, I highly recommend it. It's great.
Yes. I'm very excited for that episode and talk to everyone about it. And I hope everybody enjoys their wine. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my wine by the pool and take the rest of the night off to recharge myself.
Yes, Nish, get out of here.
We'll see everyone next week. Good night.
Bye.